I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, Cody's back, but he still isn't sure how to run the bases.
And it's time for FT to phone home. But right now, we're giving out shots for SRBB headlines.
All-Star Mike Marshall, the first reliever to ever win the Cy Young Award in 1974 when he pitched a Major League record 106 games in a season for the Dodgers, has died. He was 78. Iron Mike, as he was called, pitched in the majors from 1967 to 1981. He pitched for 9 teams. He ended his career with a 3.14 ERA, 880 strikeouts, and 188 saves. Marshall also earned a doctorate degree in kinesiology at Michigan State when he pitched for the Twins. He almost retired, but decided to become a Dodger.
Coach K is hanging up his whistle. Mike Krzyzewski, the winningest coach in college history, has announced his retirement at the end of the 21-22 season. He says he hopes to win one more national championship to go with his other 5 NCAA titles. He started his college basketball career as a player at Army under legendary coach Bobby Knight. Upon discharge from the Army in 1974, Captain Krzyzewski joined Coach Knight as an assistant at Indiana before being named the head coach at Army in 1975. In 1980, he was named head coach at Duke University, where he amassed 1,170 wins and counting and multiple ACC championships. He's coached 3 Olympic teams to gold medals and avoided the call of the NBA on numerous occasions. The Basketball Hall of Famer plans for retirement, spending time with his wife, kids, and grandkids.
4 decades after it first premiered, the USFL is back. The USFL plans to play in spring 2022 with 8 teams. Teams, cities, head coaches, and schedules will be announced at a later date.
Former BYU basketball standout, Blue Jays second baseman, Phoenix Suns head coach, Celtic point guard, GM, president of basketball operations, Danny Ainge has retired after 18 years in his executive role. Danny, 62, said he started thinking about retirement after a mild heart attack in 2019. Current head coach Brad Stevens will succeed him. Ainge will assist in the transition and in finding a new head coach during the offseason. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
We love our listeners. We want you to download and listen to the podcast and share it with others. We just ask you to acknowledge Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast as a source of the material. Please do not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially misuse the content.
Big weekend in baseball as the college playoffs started off. Big weekend for SRBB, and of course, it's time to break out your ballots. Voting time is here once again. We'll talk a little more about the voting later in the show. But the big news for SRBB, we have a new Twitter follower. It's one thing when you follow somebody and then they follow you back. It's cooler when somebody follows you unsolicited, just randomly. And the other day I got a notification on our Twitter that at Mr. October was following us, and I thought, no way, Reggie Jackson, really? And so I went and looked, and he's got the blue check mark, so it's official. Reggie Jackson followed us without us following him. Hip hip hooray. How cool is that?
It's very cool. When you texted me and told me, I usually am always like, holy cow, but that time I was like, holy crap.
Yep. Awesome. I know. It was amazing. Mr. October.
Yes.
Follows us. So if you don't already follow us on Twitter, you should. Not that we're anything spectacular on Twitter, but so big weekend in Division I baseball as we're off on the road to Omaha. And every time I say that, I get that Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Dorothy Lamour one of the songs in my, we're off on the road to Morocco or Bali or Hong Kong
Not
or any of
quite
the
as
other
exotic.
7. What's that?
I said Omaha is not quite as exotic, but
As
it'll
Singapore
do.
or Zanzibar. Anyway, so we're one step closer. All of the games are done. Some weather delays have been overcome. I do have sad news to start it all out. Number 1, Norfolk State out in 2 games.
Yeah, very early. I didn't even get a chance to really root for them.
No, it was like before you knew they were playing, they already lost.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I thought that the Highlanders of New Jersey Institute of Technology were going to follow suit. However, they did win 1 game. They beat Northeastern. Then Nebraska took them out, and of course Arkansas beat them. Arkansas had a tough time over the weekend too. The number 1 seed overall lost 1 game, but they were able to put it back together, and they'll be moving on to the Super Regional, where they'll take on NC State, the number 2 seed out of their region.
Our top 16 seeds that are no longer seeds. They didn't get enough water, I guess.
Didn't grow.
TCU didn't grow. TCU, Old Dominion, Oregon, Florida, and Louisiana Tech.
Right. Florida, I was really surprised by.
Yes.
I was happy about it, but I was surprised by it. They, for the most part, it was all number 1 seeds, with the exceptions of the ones that you brought up. South Florida, that'll go on to take on Texas. They were the number 4 seed in their region, and they moved on after a doubleheader with South Alabama. So one of them could end up with 2 losses. And then out of the TCU bracket, Dallas Baptist holds on to win and move on to, and they were the number 3 seeds. They'll take on Virginia, who finally made it in after some weather delays. Of all the games, probably the biggest thing came out of the Dallas Baptist game, playing Oregon State. And this is their only, now you had said, you brought them up last week as that this is like the 7th time they've been to the playoffs.
Right.
This is only their 2nd super regional.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know that. But yeah, they came back, clawed their way back.
Thanks to a redshirt freshman named Andrew Benefield, comes up, bases loaded, 2 outs, and lives the dream of every kid who's ever played any level of baseball. Grand slam to put the Patriots ahead and to go on to beat Oregon State to move on to the super regional. Now, in that, there was an interesting little moment right after Andrew Benefield hit his grand slam. He kind of stopped to look at it a little bit. And I guess he waited too long because the umpire hollered at him to get running. You can find that in a lot of places. Just look Andrew Benefield, Dallas Baptist University home run, and it'll pop up. I've seen it posted on social media by a lot of different folks. He stared at it a little too long, but you got to figure this is a redshirt freshman. So what's he, 18, maybe 19?
Maybe.
And this is the biggest hit of his life. And it's going to propel, his team into the next phase of the, maybe into the College World Series.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens. Give him a second. But the umpire's out there and he's like, pointing, run.
Didn't let him stop and stare.
Kind of like right, he didn't get to fully enjoy it. He took off. He was fine with that. I always think about when I see stuff like that, and this reminds me specifically when I saw it. Bull Durham, Crash Davis tells the hitter what pitch is coming, and he hits a home run. And he's standing there looking at it, and he goes, "I give you a gift, and you stand here and show up my pitcher? Run, dummy, run." That was kind of the umpire was like, "That's enough, run."
Right. Yeah. I will say one of the games I was watching last couple of innings I was able to catch was LSU in Oregon, and LSU won. They beat Oregon to move on to super regionals. But I wanted to mention, I noticed at LSU, they all have Bregman syndrome. They are so short. I don't know. I was looking at the pitcher for Oregon, and I don't know what was going on. They had a breakdown because he was he was going to throw to the catcher. There was some kind of communication error between him and then the first baseman. He ended up balking, and then the next guy that gets up hits I think it was maybe a single. But in all of that action, the only thing I thought was, man, they are so short.
That is one good thing about baseball is that, size matters in basketball, definitely in football, depending on the position, of course. But in baseball, you could be Altuve size or Bregman size. Yeah, that's funny. I didn't notice that. I didn't really get to see but some highlights of that game. I was trying to pick up as much as I could. Tim Elko, who plays for Ole Miss, back in April, tore the ACL in his right knee, grand slam to propel his team into the Super Regionals, scored 3 runs, 5 RBIs, and just had an overall great series. So we've got Super Regionals coming up Friday. They fire up with, as I look at my bracket, it's the left side. So it's the Arkansas side of the bracket. Stanford, Texas Tech, Arizona, Ole Miss, East Carolina, and Vandy will all start up on Friday in the Super Regionals at the higher ranked teams park. And then on the other side of the bracket where Texas was at the top, it's Texas and South Florida, Notre Dame, Mississippi State, Dallas Baptist, and Virginia, which that is the only game that's not being played at one of their stadiums. It'll actually be played at USC in Columbia, South Carolina, right?
Yep.
And then Knoxville will host the only interconference super regional team, which are series, which will be Tennessee and LSU. Of course, these are best of 3 series. So some of them may be like the Fridays could be over by Saturday afternoon. The Saturday ones could be over by Sunday, or they may go into Monday if they've got to play all 3. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm sure you have, but I noticed the other day I was listening to the radio and they said that California, and I've heard this has happened in other states, have like a lottery or a spin the wheel, and people who have already gotten shots are winning. People who haven't gotten shots yet or are being enticed to come get their COVID shots so that they can get money. They give away 50 grand to somebody for that. There's millions being given away. And I noticed that MLB has allotted tickets and had each team say, give away tickets or do giveaways however you want to give them for people who come and get COVID shots.
Right, at the stadium. And they're doing that in the minor leagues too. That's happening with the isotopes. You can get a shot behind, go to section whatever it is, get your shot, you get 2 free tickets.
Go out behind, like where I got mine. I got mine in a back alley.
Right.
I'm not real sure. I think I said Pfizer, but I think it had a Y and 2 Z's.
Oh, all right.
Maybe, I'm not sure. So, which leads me to ask this question. You think it's okay if I went and got another shot? So I could get some free tickets to a game?
Just, I don't,
I mean, I'm obviously I'd rather get like $50,000.
Right. But free tickets is good.
If that's the best I can do, then.
Well, I think eventually what I think we're going to have, like a flu shot the COVID shot's going to become like a flu shot, and you're going to have that. So depending on when you got your first, it could just be a booster.
Okay.
And
so I guess maybe I should look for the Johnson & Johnson shot, so I only have to get one.
Only one. You don't have to come back. And
then that way they can give it to me, because otherwise you have to wait till after your second one, and 2 weeks after that, then you're qualified. But it, I'm interested in seeing, because California is going to be opening up completely on 15th of June. However, there's going to be a mask mandate still in place. But what I wonder about is like restaurants, because we went out and actually ate in a restaurant the other day, is that if all of us can sit next to each other, there's no distancing rules, but we still have to wear a mask. How's it going to work in a restaurant when we all take our mask off to eat, unless they continue to keep putting up partitions and stuff?
Right. I think this COVID tickets and MLB, and I know there's other stuff in Washington State, pot shops. If you get a vaccine, they can give you a joint. True story. I just read that.
I don't doubt it. That hey, everybody's got to get in on it. So,
and it's pre-rolled. So I guess you don't have to do anything. I don't know how that all works.
I was going to say, you're sounding like an expert.
No.
And
I don't know.
I'm clueless on that as well.
But I and you and other, again, it goes back to, what about me?
Exactly.
It isn't fair. I got my shot when no one cared.
Right. Nobody did. Everybody's still fighting about it. I'm like, if this is how it's going to work, I went out and got it early. I got it in March. How come now? It's like, I noticed like, who is it? AT&T is doing this, that their deals are good for existing and new customers. But remember, a lot of things come up. It's like only new customers.
Yeah.
I get these things all the time that says, we're going to give you a free year of the Athletic. So I'm like, cool, I'll put that in there. I already have the Athletic. Can they just, no, you have to be a news subscriber.
Yeah.
So once we got you, we don't care about you anymore.
Right. I mean, we did the right thing, and no one cares about us. We can't get free tickets.
And we're not the prodigal, apparently.
Nope.
Before we move on, and I tell you how I had a better weekend than the Dodgers did, big news for USA Baseball.
They're going to Tokyo.
Woo! Olympic bound.
Yes, they beat Venezuela 4-2. They won the qualifying tournament, and they punched their ticket to the Olympics. They will join teams from Israel, Mexico, South Korea, and the host country, Japan. The fifth spot, will be determined later in June. Venezuela and the Dominican Republic will be among those vying for the last spot. Cuba, the winner of 3 of the 5 past gold medals, failed to make the Olympics in 2021. Now, this is also, I think, the first time baseball will be back in the Olympics since 2008.
Yeah, that sounds right. For whatever reason, they haven't had it. It's not like one of those things where you consistently.
I think when I went to London's like, we play cricket and we don't want baseball. I'm not sure, but they didn't have it in the London games, and it kind of just stayed. And
now they're trying to do that. Like the NFL has been going to London every season. Who was it last year? Was it the Red Sox and Yankees? Not last year, in 2019.
Yeah.
Red Sox, Yankees that went over there. So maybe if it ever comes back to London, they'll have it there.
Well, we know there are baseball fans in England and in that region, so it's cool that it's back in the Olympics.
Either that, or they listen to our podcast over there so that they can make fun of it. Maybe they're doing a podcast about our podcast to make fun of us. Which I would
Maybe.
like to know about because I would love to hear that.
That would be awesome.
I would love to be parodied.
It's the ultimate form of flattery.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
An okay week for the Dodgers. Not a great weekend for them, but an okay week. Couple minutes, we'll talk about our favorite Dodger these days, Albert Pujols, with Albert's Corner. But right now, I'm going to tell you why it is that I had a better weekend than the Dodgers.
Okay.
I even had a better weekend than Ronald Acuna Jr., who had a pretty good weekend against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know those Danish butter cookies, the tins of those cookies, and normally,
yes,
I love those cookies. They're a favorite here at our house. And you know how, well, for me, it seems like they only seem to come around like at Christmas time.
Right. Yeah, in the decorative tins.
Right. It's in that Christmas blue tin a lot of times or something like that. Well, Blanca showed up with a full tin, not like just it was left over from some, gathering they had at work or something. A full sealed tin.
Wow.
And it wasn't the smaller one, it was a big one. And it's
the
all
jumbo.
I can do once it got open, all I can do to not just sit there and eat all of those pretzel ones.
Oh, right. Yeah, those are good.
Why didn't they make those like that? That's the one I don't get. Those are great. They get the little sugar crystals on top. But why'd they make them like pretzels? What were the Danes thinking?
Well, so pretzels are German. So they were like, we're going to one-up you, and we're going to make a sweet cookie shaped like a pretzel.
The little sugar crystals on top do look like salt on a pretzel. Bavarian pretzels from I got it. Wow. I'm done. That'll do it for SRBB this week because mind blown. What is that you always see? I was today years old.
Yes.
Why didn't I ever think about that? Till you said that, I never visualized it that way. Yeah. Salty and sweet, I never really, but you could have a little pretzel and then have the cookie and you could have salty and sweet.
Right.
I'm even having a much better. The Dodgers could win the World Series. They're not going to beat my year now that I know this. This is information that, wow.
Now, it has to be important that the salt on a pretzel and then, of course, the little crystals on the cookie are distributed evenly. Correct. Because we went to an Isotopes game. My youngest son wanted a pretzel. He sits down to eat it, and there was one little salt on it. So he's a little disappointed.
Yeah, or it's all in one place.
Right.
And when you eat it, they all fall off. And unless you have a little container thing.
Yes, I told him to savor that piece.
That one little piece. It was
right in the middle. So, yeah, sweet and salty. We have explained it. I had a similar incident not with those cookies. I made some Rice Krispie treats and ate almost all of them. And hid them from my family because I really wanted some and nobody was paying attention when I was making them. And
so nobody knew.
This is my perfect opportunity.
If you ate them all, they'd never know because they didn't pay attention. See what happens if you're not paying attention to the world around you? You miss out on Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be doing that for a while.
It was a battle to not just sit there because then she was gone a lot this weekend. She'd have come home. There'd be no cookies. She'd be like, what happened to all the cookies? I would just had to point at the dogs.
Right.
As I've got crumbs and sugar crystals all over my face and in my beard.
Well, that does sound. I think between the cookies and the Rice Krispie treats, we did have a better weekend than the Dodgers.
Now
they did. They played the Cardinals at home before their poor showing over the weekend. And they won that series 2-1. They had a really good game 1 and game 3. Game 2 is okay, wasn't bad, but
Game 2 it's kind of, just looking at it right now, and they only lost by 1 run.
Right.
But it was a bench player bullpen game. Because the reason all the runs that they got were can be contributed to one guy, Matt Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
And then David Price, who started off the game pretty well, pitched pretty well for his 3 innings. If they'd left him in there, who knows? But it wasn't a blowout like they've had some, 3-2. So they had a chance to win it. They just couldn't keep it all together or get enough runs.
Well, so they've had bullpen games before, and a lot of it is because Tony Gonsolin has been out with a shoulder injury. He should be back this week, hopefully. And David Price has started the bullpen games, and he's looked good. But in this particular one, something was off with him. He didn't look comfortable on the mound to me.
Yeah.
And but then you had Joe Kelly come in, who looking a lot better. Our favorite Bill Bickford, our favorite accountant,
Skip Bickford.
Yes, Skip, Nate Jones, and Mitch White. They all looked really good. Blake Trinan, though, he got the loss. And he pitched 1 1/3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, a 1 run, and earned run. He only had 1 strikeout. I'll talk about Blake Trinan here in a little bit when we get to Atlanta. Game 1, they won 9-4. CT3, Chris Taylor, and Gavin Lux both had home runs. Trevor Bauer has been off. He said he wasn't feeling great that day. He went 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned runs. He gave up 3 home runs in the game, and he had 5 strikeouts, which is like below par for Bauer.
Yeah.
It's not right. So then you had game 2. They lost it 3-2, and the Dodgers do not do well in 1-run games. They always seem to lose. Like, they have a losing record when it comes to 1-run games. And then in game 3, they won. They exploded for like 11 runs in 1 inning. They ended up winning the game 14-3. Cody looked great. He had a grand slam. He had 6 RBIs. And the only thing is, you remember way back the first game, the opening day against the Rockies, and we thought he hit a home run, but we weren't sure if he hit a home run. Right. What happened? And Justin Turner had been at first, but then he wasn't paying attention anyway, and he ended up running past Cody Bellinger, and Cody's yelling at him, and then Cody was out, and it just confusing. So Cody's back from the IL. What happened was, I think it was an overthrow. I think, they overthrew the ball, which you don't know if that's going to happen or not. So, you're watching, but Chris Taylor almost could have run past him again, which would have been, who knows what was going on. Gavin Lux was on second, and he's looking at Cody like, what are you doing? I mean,
he's like, I'm the rookie here.
Right. So he was at third, and he was like, I don't know, should I run? Should I not? And then he finally was like, I got to run. I got to get there. So he did get the run there, but yeah, he had that dazed and confused kind of, I don't know what to do look on his face.
He still doesn't know how to do that.
But we forgive him because he hit the grand slam.
Yep. Just to go back real quick, 1-run games this season, they're 7-13.
Yeah, it's crazy. 7-13 in 1-run games. So when they explode for 9 runs or 14 runs. They need to do that because 1-run games are not their friend.
Yeah, that game, probably the big thing in game 3 of that 14-3 win, Joe Kelly showed his real talent by playing rock, paper, scissors with a fan out in the outfield out there, out in the bullpen.
Yeah, that's a fun video to watch. He's playing rock, paper, scissors with a kid who looks like he's probably, maybe 6, 7 years old. And I'm not sure what he threw, if it was, at the very end, you couldn't, but whatever it was, he won because the little kid goes and cries, he doesn't really cry. He just is like, man, Joe Kelly beat me. Rock, paper, scissors. And he had a really attentive audience because all the relief pitchers were right in behind him.
Right. They were watching him. I don't know what's going on in the game.
I don't know.
This is more fun. All right. So they took a day off and headed to Atlanta.
Yeah, hot Atlanta.
Down to Truist Field and took on the Braves. Overall, the series was an L, but it started off good.
It started off really well. And in fact, I thought, this is great. They're going to go on and this is going to propel them through the weekend. I was wrong. Thus, I had to make Rice Krispie treats. They did win game 1, 9-5. Julio Urias, again, not a bad outing, but not an outing that we are used to seeing. They did win, and he got the win, but
wasn't that his 8th, which is
his
tied for league lead or MLB lead with 8 wins?
Yeah. So, I mean, it didn't look bad, but there's something about when I'm watching really all of the pitchers. I don't know so much with Buehler, but Bauer, Kershaw, Urias, they're just, I don't know if maybe they just need the time off for, these days off, or especially as they're getting closer to the All-Star break, maybe that's having something to do with it. Because I get concerned about, now I know it's the full, every pitcher that gets a strike with the jumbo jack, but you never know. And so you really want your starting pitcher to have a really good lead in that category so that can happen for you Southern Californians.
Yeah, we need them as a team to strike out 10. So when Trevor Bauer only gets 5, sure, you got halfway there, but there's no guarantee.
Right.
I was just thinking as you were talking about the idea of the starters are now having issues. They've been carrying this because the bullpen's been an issue. Obviously, there's been injuries that haven't helped, but they come in, a lot of inherited runners are scoring. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago with Mitch White and others. Blake Trinan, we've seen having some issues, and I know you're going to get into him a little bit more here shortly. But maybe that's what's happening. They're all kind of, we've seen this in the past with the Angels, where the bullpen carries the team from the pitching staff to begin the season, and then finally the starters pick it up, and then the bullpen falls apart. They're not both all in sync at one time, and so there's been so much pressure. All these pitchers we've seen in Trevor Bauer arguing about coming out because he knows if he comes out, it's going to put more pressure on that bullpen. So now he's putting more pressure on himself. Kirsch has done the same thing. I don't see it with Julio, but I do see that it probably could be taking its toll. It seems like Julio seems to pitch the longest. He doesn't. He's got less innings than Trevor. Trevor Bauer leads the team in innings pitched with 82. Clayton is next at 76, and then Julio at 72. Walker Buehler has 70. Those have been the 4 consistent starters. So I just wonder if because they're pushing themselves to go farther into games, is that having an effect on them because they don't trust the bullpen?
Yeah, that's a good question. It just seems like even in the Saturday game, Kershaw pitched, and he didn't, again, it's not that he looked bad, but it wasn't what you expect. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 4 runs. 2 of those were earned runs and a 1 walk, and then 5 strikeouts. No home runs. I will say Charlie Morton had the exact same line as Kershaw, which was interesting to me. Blake Trinan came in, and he pitched 1 inning, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, and walked 2, struck out 2, and gave up a home run. Now, Blake Trinan has gotten himself into some sticky situations, but he has always been able to get himself out. And something watching him in the game 2 against the Cardinals, and then again game 2 against Atlanta, he just doesn't look as confident on the mound, hoping that it is just kind of a mental thing and not a physical, mechanical, something that he can fix in the bullpen, but it's not a physical where he's going to have to end up on the IL. Game 3, Sunday afternoon, they lost 4-2. Trevor Bauer pitched that game, and only 4 strikeouts for him. He pitched 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits, only 1 run. So
now the question is, and he is the poster child for this, is the substances. And we'll talk more about it later. But this weekend, there was a drop-off on spin rate across the board in Major League Baseball. Now, I don't know what his looked like, but that's less strikeouts. Was there less spin on the ball? Was he not feeling good? Was he having an issue? I don't know. Maybe he's worn out, like we were just talking about. But did that have a part?
Right, and it could. And he mentioned in the in the press conference post game, it's hot, it's humid, it's Atlanta. Was he being facetious? Probably. I don't know. But again, as I mentioned, Kershaw and Morton had the same line. Well, Max Fried pitched for Atlanta. Exact same line as Trevor Bauer. Really good matchup when you have Trevor Bauer and Max Fried. In fact, I think they went against each other when Cincinnati played the Braves last year. Was it a wild card situation? Right. Or yeah. Right. So, but exact same numbers. Price came in looking a little, well, I don't know. He's looking a little better, but he still gave up a hit and a run, and he only pitched a third. And then Nate Jones, though, has looked really good. So he's been a really good pickup for the Dodgers.
Former Brave.
Yeah, former Brave. And the Braves let him go this season. So I'm sure maybe that played into it. Like, look what you don't have anymore. But I don't know. But he's been really good.
Well, I think there's something to that, to go pitch against a team that lets you go.
Yeah.
And have a good outing if you can. And he's, like you said, overall, he's done pretty good. I want to say, before we talk about the hero of game 3 of the series, even in the loss, I know that overall you're not a fan of this guy, but I also know you appreciate and respect what he does. And that's Ronald Acuna Jr. And the reason I'm going to bring him up is, which game was it? Was it the Sunday game? Stealing bases.
Yes. And
this is what baseball's lacking. And he's not the only one who can do this, but he's a good example of what should be done. Stole second base. Mm-hmm. He stole third base.
Yes.
This is where you make the pitcher and maybe this is part of the problem with the pitching, why the pitchers have they're not worried about what's going on anywhere because nobody's stealing bases.
Right. Yeah. It's a lacking.
If he's got to worry about when he gets on base, I got to watch him at first base. If he's making him nervous, if he's, if he keeps the catcher kind of off balance because he doesn't know, that changes the flow and the feel of the game.
Yeah.
As much as I don't want to see them beat the Dodgers, I grew up where the Braves and the Dodgers were in the same division.
Yes.
So we saw a lot of the Braves and the Dodgers. The Braves, and then of course we were subjected to them through the 80s with Superstation TBS and America's team. The only two teams you could see consistently were the Braves and any Atlanta team, and the Cubs, because WGN was another Superstation that was on everything. I think they're still on everything, but it's not the same. But he really put some excitement into the game.
Yeah. I there's things that he does, but we're going to talk later around the league. I'll bring him up again because if I have to choose, we'll just leave it there. If I have to choose, and we'll talk about that around the league. I would say the Dodgers, they are in third place, and it's going to be a battle between the Giants, who are in first. And the thing is the Dodgers have the third best record in baseball. However, they're in the same division as the best record and the second best record, which is the Giants and the Padres. So the Dodgers have to step it up.
Wild card.
Yeah. But you don't want that, like, oh, yay.
I got to play in versus the Padres.
Yeah.
To get in, and it's only one game. Who knows? That's a toss up.
Well, and we talked about that last season when they played the Brewers, and even then it was, are they gonna be able to win this 3-game series? Because there were times it was a little iffy.
We're going to go back to game 3 as an introduction into this next segment. And in game 3, the Dodgers only scored 2 runs, but both of those runs were generated by one man.
Alberto.
So let's visit Albert's corner. Albert in that game 3 was 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, 1 home run, number 671. So on the week, Albert only played in 4 games total. He was 2 for 12, so he only had a 200 batting average, but he did hit that 1 home run, had 2 RBIs, 2 walks. So right now, with the projection on a 162 game season, he's projected to hit 37 total home runs, which would propel him past A-Fraud.
Yay!
And that's the only thing that I'm really interested in. I mean, I want to see him do well to finish off his season. And I noticed Freddie Freeman gave him a hug when
that was really cool. Yeah.
And Albert's he's one of those guys that you're happy to see.
Well, when he hit the home run, even the Braves fans, I think there was no, boo, or there was really a reaction that it was like, hey, all right, he hit this, this historic home run. And the guy who caught it, obviously a Braves fan, he was super excited. And it wasn't just because he got that ball. It was because it was Albert Pujols' home run. That is really special. So,
yeah, every time you see him, it's that. And the Braves fans are probably, because they saw him when he played in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I'm sure that at some point the Angels played the Braves in interleague play during his time. But they're probably looking at it and appreciating this is probably the last time they're ever going to see him play. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't anticipate him playing again next season. But he's still, right now, he's got 671 home runs and 671 doubles. And counting.
And he, on that game on Sunday, he played first base. Defensively, he was still doing it. He looked great. So he had a really good game. And he just is, you can't help but smile. He's always smiling. So he's just happy to play, and the Dodgers love having him. He's just been such a boost because, yes.
He's kind of awkward when he's doing his patting his head.
It's kind of like he doesn't know, like he wants to do all the,
I want to do all of it at one time.
Yeah, barrels are overrated. Pat my head. That's right, pat my head. Yeah, he does, but he's having fun. And I mentioned that when the Dodgers were going through that losing streak, that they weren't having fun. The Dodgers are having fun, and it's because of Albert Pujols. I really, their attitude has changed. I think it's noticeable. I mean, I watch them all the time, but you really do see it. They seem looser and excited. So
a 500 week, really, 3-3 over the week. So it's not bad. Keeps you in the mix. What they're going to be hoping for, though, is in this coming week of baseball, they're going to be taking on two teams that are all but mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and the Pirates, who are at the bottom of their leagues, and they have the worst run differential in the league, and the Dodgers have the second best, plus 83. So they're going to take on Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and then come home to take on the cellar dwellers of the AL West in the Texas Rangers,
which will be reopening day on June 15th. As you mentioned, California will be open, so Dodger Stadium will be at full capacity, 50,000 people cheering. That'll be really cool. That's one of my favorite parts. I love just hearing the crowd. It's just invigorating.
There's something about the crowd, and it's a fun place. The Angels are generally my preferred team, number one. But if I've got to go to a game, I like going, and I live closer to Dodger Stadium, so I go to more Dodger games. But I like Dodger Stadium because there's a different crowd, it's a different feel, it's a different vibe than Anaheim is.
Yes.
And, so I'll go. I don't care who's playing. I like to see different teams. Oh, hey, I want to see this team play. I'll go over there just to see the teams, play. And of course, I like to go because Dodgers do a lot of bobblehead nights.
They do, and they will be doing some.
Yeah, they're firing those back up again. I think the Justin Turner, which I already have, by the way, is the first one up. All right, so we'll look for those games.
I want to mention Scott Alexander. Did you forget Scott Alexander was on the Dodgers? Because I kind of did.
I thought that was the guy that I saw down at a car dealership the other day.
Oh.
Scott Alexander Chevy or something. I don't. Maybe that wasn't it.
He wasn't on the Miracle Mile.
Of course. No, he wasn't at 605 in South Street, Cerritos Auto Square.
I don't know how I kind of forgot. He's looked really good, but he is on the IL, has a shoulder. I know I mentioned this before, but for some reason I was going through the IL and I'm like, oh yeah, Scott Alexander, where has he been? So he's been in Arizona. The other guy I want to mention is Brusdar Graterol. He was on the IL, expected to come back, and he was supposed to work on his control. So he's been sent down to the minors. We'll see how that works for him. Hopefully he get back. I mean, overall, Blake Trinan, like I said, there's something going on. We need him to get right because he's been the guy that's always waiting. And then Kinley, when he's angry, Kinley, that's what we need. We need him to be angry all the time.
We saw Mark Pryor go out and say something to him that got him fired up.
Yeah, like some kind of
I don't know what he told him.
I don't know.
I don't know what he told him, but that worked out on that one. All right, so player of the week.
I had to go with Chris Taylor this week.
How could you not?
He 7 RBIs. He hit a home run, 2 doubles, hitting 318, and then defense. Oh, that's right, 3 doubles. See, I missed that. He defensively is just awesome. He is, when Mickey Hatcher in the 88 Dodgers and that crew were the stuntmen, Chris Taylor has taken that role of the stuntman.
The other day, well, I don't remember what happened. I looked away and I looked back and he was limping around. It was during an at-bat, and I could hear Dodgers Nation hold their breath.
Yes.
Because of every player. Everybody's got that same feeling right now with Max.
Mm-hmm.
As, he hurt his ankle. But more so, I think, with Chris Taylor, because he's been that one guy. He is probably the MVP. He and Max right now fighting it, but he's been more solid. Max finally, picked it up. But yeah, I think a lot of people worried about that. Luckily, shook it off and finished that at bat. Yeah, worried about that. You're right. 318 batting average. And then an interesting stat that I think I brought up before, but it's batting average balls in play, which essentially shows how what being hit in play. So it takes out home runs because there's no play on a home run. He batted 375 with balls in play. So it means he's hitting the singles. He's getting on base. They're, defensively, they're not stopping him. So that's, he's my pick as well. So I don't know how many times he's gotten it this year, but he's going to get a certificate and be in the running for a T-shirt that one of these days, we'll have to tell everybody about the T-shirt and tell them how they can get one. Maybe after I move, because they're all in boxes right now.
Right. Yes. Let's do that. Yeah. CT3, as we like to call him, player of the week.
Angels and Dodgers, identical week. They went 3-3 as well, but the Angels have been playing pretty much 500 ball for a while now. They split the series that they had because they had the 2-game series with the Giants in San Francisco, and then came home to play Seattle, where they split that series as well. Some things to talk about though. Game 1 with the Giants, Johnny Cueto started out, had a great outing, and then former Halo Nick Tropiano came in and shut down his former team as well. They lost that one 6-1. Probably the highlight of that one would be Kian Wong, who has been filling in at second base while Iglesias was out. So Fletcher could be over at shortstop. Got a triple, went 2 for 4. Jay Up continues on in that leadoff spot, 2 for 4. So pretty good. The problem, I guess, is the pitching once again. Dylan Bundy is having a really hard time. And the one thing, last season he didn't give up a lot of home runs. In fact, in his career he didn't. This season, that's what's killing him. He's giving up home runs. Gave up 4 runs in that game, and then Hunter Strickland gave up the other 2. Neither have been looking really good. Hunter Strickland started out okay when we got him from Tampa Bay, but since then he's not really step up. Now game 2, different story. Night and day on this team. 8-1 win. Anthony Rendon finally got involved in a bigger way. And they need this from him because Mike Trout's still July before we're going to see him, and hopefully that's when we see him. But Tony with 3 for 5 with 5 RBIs and a double, and Andrew Haney had another good outing. He's been putting more good outings together, so that's important. 6.1 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, and struck out 7. And of course, whenever the Angels win, not strikeouts, they're not tied to strikeouts, they're tied to wins. When the Angels win, fries are free at McDonald's. I think you have to buy a drink. So it's good when the Dodgers get 10 plus strikeouts, get a jumbo jack, and then the Angels win, you get some fries, and of course drinks at McDonald's are only $1 even for a large, so it's a pretty economical day of eating.
If both teams, well, the Dodgers get 10 strikeouts, whether they win or lose, and the Angels win, you're good, because you could have lunch, dinner, snack, however it works.
Yeah, you don't have to, and they're not tracking it, so you could go from Jack in the Box and McDonald's to different ones.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to do it on the app, though.
Oh, so then it wouldn't work well. So you only get one.
But every day, so like on an off day, like the Dodgers had Monday off.
Yeah.
But the Angels won.
You still get to eat.
At least French fries. Or the opposite, if the Angels are off and the Dodgers get the 10 strikeouts. We used to be able to get tacos, too, from the Lakers, but the Lakers went and blew that.
Yeah, no tacos. I want to mention the Game 2 against San Francisco and our old friend Alex Wood. He's looked really good this season, but not against the Dodgers and not against the Angels. He went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 4 hits, 7 runs, 7 of those earned, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. I'm thinking that that's probably one of his shorter outings, or maybe the shortest outing he's had of the season. That surprised me because before the Dodgers played the Giants, he was like 5-0, and since then has not been pitching that great. But Andrew Heaney looked really good. Had 7 strikeouts in that game.
So Seattle comes to town. The Angels were the soft, squishy filling to the Mariners bookend. That doesn't work because I've got 2 different
2 analogies.
Yes. Anyway,
soft,
so
squishy filling to the Mariners. I don't know. Bread. I don't know.
I thought that one too. The cookies, I guess, like an Oreo.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I was trying to think of something that was good, like that you would have in Seattle, like it's known for. But I don't. They were the buds in the wrapper of the joint. If you get a vaccine,
you are like locked in on this. Are you running a pot shop up there that you're
well? No, but I could start in New Mexico here pretty soon. So,
well,
no, that will not be happening.
So the Mariners were the hard cookie crust on either side of the soft, squishy filling that the Angels were in their wins. The Mariners take up the first game 6-2. Mitch Haniger, who is probably going to be this year's comeback player of the year if he continues on. Great game overall. I would say that for them, they're, what's his name, Jared Kelenic, finally sit down. He's like 0 for 1,000. I don't, Angels fans know how that is because we had Joe Adele who couldn't do anything. And
yeah, you can empathize.
AAA hitting the world. Can he do it when he comes up? Because he will come up at some point.
Yeah.
Jay up 1 for 3 with a home run and an RBI. Jared Walsh had a home run in that game. That would have been accounted for the 2 runs. And Griffin Canning, another subpar outing. And
Well, he pitched 3 1/3. So
yeah, unlike the Dodgers, where we're looking at, maybe these pitchers are run down, the starters, because they're having to carry the load. The Angels pitchers have all pretty much been on a roller coaster. The most consistent has been Shohei, who has the lowest ERA on the team, but to everybody else's credit, they're pitching a lot more than Shohei is. Game 2 was a win, 3-2. A familiar name, Justin Upton, 1 for 2 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Jose Rojas, who has been sent back down to the minors, had a home run in that game. Shohei pitched 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, struck out 10. So if I could get the Dodgers deal with his strikeouts, I'd have a burger and fries, all because of Shohei. Game 3, another win. This one was bigger. It was crazy. 12-5. They did try to give that one away. Jake Fraley, the DH for the Mariners, had 4 RBIs in that game, all from a grand slam.
That game, I looked at it. The Angels were up 1-0. And then I went and watched the Dodgers game, and then I looked at the score again. It's 5-1. I'm like, what the heck happened? Then I see the final score, and Angels came back. But yeah, that grand slam must have happened.
It's exactly what happened. And at that point, I got up and started doing other things because the game was on, but I didn't stay with it because of that. Alex Cobb gave up 5 runs on 3 hits, struck out 6, walked 1, gave up that grand slam, but he pitched 7 innings. He's been lately the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And it seems like one guy's kind of always stepping up somewhere. He's been the guy lately. We need them all to start stepping up more consistently. Game 4 was another loss thanks to J.P. Crawford and Kyle Seager, 2 RBIs each. But there were some good parts to this game. Anthony Rendon contributed 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run scored. Fletch, who's been kind of in the middle of things, not doing great, not necessarily doing bad every day. Not his every week player of the week self, though. 2 for 3 with a run scored. This loss can be completely attributed to the bullpen. Patrick Sandoval threw 6 innings. He gave up 3 runs and struck out 10. So he really did his part. And the Angels scored enough runs. Like I said, you had all those. And I forgot to mention Justin Upton again. 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, a base on balls, 2 strikeouts, 2 runs, and 1 home run for his 13th of the season. But it was Alex Claudio, Hunter Strickland, and the guy I said should be living in a shack by the sea shack, all gave up runs so that they lost 9-5. Only Mike Myers, who's been having a lot of issues as of late, had a clean inning.
Right, and for Hunter Strickland, that was enough. The Angels had seen enough of him because he has been DFA'd.
Yep. It was like, good, come in at the beginning, you're okay, but for the most part, and to me, it's like, that makes sense to DFA him. Not sure where it made sense to DFA Albert Pujols. But I know I am good at beating things into the ground. I will continue to run it into the ground as long as I feel mileage. I can get mileage out of it.
Well, with Hunter Strickland, it does make sense because when he came in, when they got him, he had an ERA under 2, I believe. And he left the Angels with an ERA over 4.
Now, the question is, though, is that a Hunter Strickland problem or is it an Angels issue? Is there something with Matt Wise, the pitching coach? Is it Joe Madden? Is there something going on there that's causing that? There is a fundamental problem regarding pitching in Anaheim.
I think one of the things when I'm looking at the box scores for the Angels, when I look at the Dodgers, Kinley, as much as he makes all of us hold our breath when he's out there pitching, he's the closer. That's the guy. And you have other guys, okay, they're going to come out during these innings. Sometimes they'll be switched up a little bit, but not much. With the Angels, there doesn't seem to be any set role. And I wonder if that, like Tony Watson to me could be the closer. He could be the lights out guy.
Well, Raisel Iglesias is supposed to be the closer.
And he, in game 2, it was Watson, Myers, and Iglesias, and they all looked really good in that, in their spots when they came in relief. But then when you're looking at it, it's Cishek, Myers, Watson. Cishek, Watson, Claudio, and that was in game 3. But then in game 4, Claudio, Myers, Strickland, Cishek, and maybe it's a combination. They don't have the combo right of the pitchers that they need to go out, and when they need to figure out a short reliever or a long reliever, or where do these guys fit in? Because that seems there's no consistency for the bullpen.
You don't have guys who are truly high leverage relievers,
right?
And guys who are the squishy center, of picking up innings or bridging to those guys. Yeah, you're right. There's lack of a role that the position players all have. But if it was just that and the starters were more solid, that leads me to believe that there's a lot. You can put a lot on what you just said. That makes a lot of sense. That these guys don't know what they're coming into. But if you're a reliever, you should be able to come in at any point.
You should, yes.
But if this is a point where the manager should know and see what's going on and say, okay, we need to do this. And and honestly, how long until they DFA Steve Cishek or Alex Claudio, who has been pretty much a disaster all season? He has one here or there, but one inning out of 20 doesn't help.
Right. Well,
all right.
It's just looking at pitching, I guess, again, for the Angels, that has always been the issue. And how do you fix it? And how do you get the fire lit under, Joe Madden to go and say, hey, we need pitching? But he won't.
I think they need a new pitching coach.
Yeah, I would say a new pitching coach. They need. I really feel like there's the reliever. I mean, the starters. You have Ohtani. Now he doesn't pitch as often, like you mentioned, but he's still going 6 innings. Cobb looked really good. Haney's looked really good, but being consistent in that role. And then the relievers having a consistent role too. You're right. They should know if they're going out there anytime, they should, do what they're supposed to do. But maybe having that role helps too.
Knowing that you're the seventh inning guy or the
Yeah.
sixth inning guy or the long reliever might help them, and that's where good management would come into play. And there's a lot of issues there. That's one of them. And at one point, this season, the bullpen was like first or second in the league in like ERA or in stopping runs.
Yeah.
They had that, and then, but once again, too much work. You start to depend on them. They start falling apart. So there's a lot of different issues here, and the pressure on the Angels. So Dylan Bundy's one of those guys who will go out there and pitch. He's like Trevor Bauer in that he'll throw 200 pitches if you let him do it. He's not having any success with that. These other guys that are there, if the starters aren't starting out well, too much pressure on the bullpen. If the bullpen's falling apart, there's too much pressure on the starters because they're having to go out there and pitch. They feel they have to pitch perfectly.
You're right.
And they have to do it for 7 innings at least, if not more. And there's not. And I just wonder where is that guy who is that 200 pitch reliever kind of guy that can come out and pitch almost every day or every couple of days, and they have people they can depend on, because with the pitching staff there's nobody they can truly depend on day in and day out. Shohei's probably the closest to it. Haney's had his times. Cobb's getting better. Dylan Bundy was the guy, but Dylan Bundy, he's I don't put a lot into the losses, but he's 0-6, and that takes its toll too, I think, because then he's thinking, how come? What's wrong with me?
Yep.
How do I get past this? All right, before we look at our player of the week for the Angels this week, let's take a look at the Shohei Spotlight. Because everybody loves Shohei, and I got to give him his due after last week and the whole, hey, can I get the ball? You guys fight it out. I just need the ball. And because he plays just about every game, he's not just, he pitched one game, but he played in 6 total games and hit in the game he pitched. But he went 2 for 14 this week, batting 143, had a double, a home run, but he walked 8 times, 2 RBIs, 1 intentional base on balls. Now here's where part of his issue is, but Justin Upton looks about the same, 7 strikeouts on the week. In the game he pitched, 6 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, one of those a home run, 2.76 ERA, and 10 strikeouts. So good week for Shohei overall on the mound. Hitting wise, he had back-to-back games. He pitched one night, did okay the next night. He hit the home run and helped.
I think he had a stolen base,
Oh, yeah, and a
too.
stolen base, yeah. He did.
So
Shohei is fun to watch, and might as well give him a little due. We don't know when Mike Trout will be back exactly, and we don't know what Mike Trout's going to look like coming back. I'm sure he's probably going to he's going to push himself to get back to where he was, but I think with this loss of time, unless he comes back and just like doubles up all of the numbers he had before, he's out of the MVP running this year just because of that. Then again, what if the Angels make the playoffs? All right, so the Angels started off this week with Kansas City at home, and then they're going to travel just a little east to a place that you can't watch them play, Arizona. Do you ever think about driving up to Colorado? Wouldn't that be closer? And then you could watch the Dodgers play the Diamondbacks?
I could.
Because we talked about you going to Amarillo. But you could go either way.
I could go either way.
As long as you're not in New
Yeah.
Mexico, you could watch the Diamondbacks play because they're not blacked out in Colorado unless they're playing the Rockies, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right, and of course the Diamondbacks I think the Diamondbacks are actually mathematically eliminated now. The Rockies can thank the Diamondbacks for becoming, and I think the Diamondbacks' issue is more that they've just got a lot of injuries of key players. So yeah, the Angels will head to Phoenix to take on the Diamondbacks and KC at home. Player of the week, I have a feeling we're probably on the same page on this one as well, but go ahead and spring it on me.
I went with J-Up, otherwise known as Justin Upton. 421 batting average, lots of RBIs, hit some home runs, and had some doubles. I looked because he's been hitting leadoff. And then in game 1 against Seattle, he batted 4th. But he still had a home run in that game, went 1 for 3. So, yeah, I went with Justin Upton this week. He when you look at the numbers and you look at everybody else, for me, it was Justin Upton. Again.
I went with J Up as well. And every week when we're getting ready, and I don't know if people realize this or not, but we discuss what we want to talk about as far as big things, and we have the different segments of the show, and we look at it. But as far as what we're going to present, all we know is we're going to talk Dodgers or we're going to talk Angels. And sometimes we may have talked about something during the week, but generally all we know is we're going to talk about this subject, and we come up with our own things, and so we don't really know what the other one's going to say. We probably have an idea. So when we do these, it's a surprise. It's not we didn't come together on it.
We don't talk about player of the week. And in fact, I never know your player of the week until everyone else. And the same for me. We just don't talk about it.
Nope.
It's our unwritten rule. Don't talk about.
Right, unwritten rules of SRBB Club. So what I do though is I go through and I look at all the games. I see if there was anything in the game that really stood out that we should really talk about, or that needs to be talked about. And then when I go back through, I look at the players who had the best days. I look at RBIs, then I look at hits, I look at walks, and every game with the exception of one, J-Up comes up big in all of those this last week. Lots happening around the league in the last week. Last week, we didn't even get to the players of the week from last week. They were announced late thanks to Monday being a holiday. So last week, Brandon Woodruff of the Brewers was the NL Player of the Week. He leads Major League Baseball right now with a 3.8 WAR. And then Jose Abreu from the White Sox took the AL Player of the Week.
We also have Pitchers of the Month for May. Rich Hill, our old friend, who's now pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays. In the month of May, he had made 6 starts at a .78 ERA in 34 2/3 innings, 36 strikeouts, 12 walks, and opponent's batting average against Rich Hill, 145. That's for the American League. For the National League, Kevin Gossman of San Francisco Giants, 37 innings in 6 starts in May that he pitched, .73 ERA, 49 strikeouts, 6 walks, and opponents had a 165 batting average against Gossman.
Wow. Giants have got to be happy they re-signed that guy.
Yeah.
I was hoping the Angels would go after him. He was okay last season. I don't think it's kind of like Alex Wood too, but Gossman's even on a higher level of just becoming definitely a Cy Young Award candidate. I think
so. I think
for
he
this
could
year.
be in the conversation.
I also think at one time when everybody thought that the Giants were going to be more of a third place team, he probably was a trade chip that they might have been able to get something for. Now, Giants are going to be buying if they're doing anything. They're not going to be sellers at all.
No.
I think they've proven at this point that they are not a fluke. Like we saw the Royals. They were playing really well. Now they've kind of settled in to, they're still over 500, but they're not at the top of their division anymore. And it's a fairly weak division as far as the overall makeup of the Central. This week we do have new Players of the Week from the AL, from a team that once again is probably mathematically eliminated now, 16 games out, in probably one of the toughest divisions, the American League East. We'll get to that in a little bit. Ryan Mountcastle hit in all 6 games he played in. It was 11 for 24, 4 home runs, 3 doubles, 10 RBIs, and a .458 batting average. So he took home AL honors. He's the second Oriole this season to get it, joining John Means. And didn't something happen with John Means this week?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Along with some other fellow pitchers.
And in the NL, a guy named Patrick Wisdom, rookie third baseman from the Cubs.
Called up from Iowa, AAA, Iowa, May 25th.
And the bad thing for him is, being in Iowa, he couldn't see any games except for the one he was playing in.
Well, that didn't stop him.
Maybe the ignorance level of what happens in the major leagues worked to his advantage. 6 home runs he hit. I think he's had like 7 in his 8 games. 6 of them just in this last week. 10 for 23 for a .435 average. Went deep twice versus the Padres,
Yay!
Which makes him one of my favorite players. And did it again versus the Giants, which solidifies.
Yay! Give me a Wisdom jersey.
And honestly, he's probably making it hard, just like Chris Bryant is making it hard on the Cubs as to what they're going to do with Chris Bryant, because he also was a Player of the Week. So it's that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and if the Cubs, who are tied for first place right now with the Brewers in the Central, are buyers or sellers when we get to the trade deadline. And we'll talk more about that as we're getting closer, because the trade deadline, remember, is just one trade deadline at the end of July, not like years past where there was kind of 2 trade deadlines. Like we said, the Orioles are probably out of it, but in the AL East, the other 4 teams are all above 500. However, the Yankees are trying to make like a submarine and submerge, because they're right there on that level. And they got swept by the Red Sox over the weekend, so it's not helping them.
In New York.
Right.
And that's not a good look, especially when you have adult Yankee fans arguing with elementary school or middle school Red Sox fans. That is not a good look.
The team in the East, no, it's not a good look, but not surprising. And something tells me if that was reversed, the same thing would happen in Boston. Adult Red Sox fans arguing with teenage or young Yankee fans.
Yes.
That's what makes it such a great rivalry. They're all exactly the same people, even though they don't think they're exactly the same people.
You're so right on that.
The leader in the AL East would be Tampa Bay, oddly enough, who I was watching MLB Network. They were talking about how Tampa Bay leads in no offensive categories. In fact, they're at the bottom in some. But it's pitching, especially their bullpen, and defense that is really propelled them to the top. Last week, Ryan Yarbrough pitched the first complete game for the Rays since 2016. And I'm pretty sure he did it against the Yankees.
He did. It was against the Yankees.
And then since we're up in that area, it looked like Miami, the Marlins, followed your advice.
They did. They went to Niagara Falls on a team field trip. They took a tour, went on the Maid of the Mist tour, which is a fun. You get to wear a blue poncho with Maid of the Mist and head out and go into the falls. It's really nice. I've been there. I've done that. And
I've never been there, done that. The closest I've gotten would be like Bruce Almighty.
But
now the question is, did any of the players go throw a barrel on and go over the falls like they used to always show people doing?
Oh yeah, back in the 20s or
way 100 years ago,
something like that. I don't think so. I think
you've been DFA.
Yeah, over the falls you go. Yeah, so that's fun for me to see that they went to Niagara Falls because I'd mentioned as a tourist. And more teams will be able to do that because the Buffalo Blue Jays will be in Buffalo a while longer.
At least through the end of July.
Yes.
Or close to the end of July.
Yes.
We'll see if anything changes after that. All right, so we talked about it earlier, and we want to go into a little more detail. There's the whole thing with substances, illegal substances on the ball, Rule 6 whatever, Eduardo's favorite rule. We recently heard, hey, they're collecting all these balls. Joe West took a Cardinals hat because there was dirt or substance on it, he thought, and which brought out Mike Schilt had issues with it. Now we've got other managers that are talking about the yays and the nays of substances, but it sounded like everybody's upset. Oh, you're taking all this stuff, but you're not doing anything about it. You talk a good game, but nothing's been done. What's going to happen? And so MLB sends out a little note to all the teams. We are about to start coming down hard on these offenders. But others are coming out and saying, I think you're missing out on the real problems that this issue is really causing.
With MLB coming out and saying the umpires are going to be checking every game 8 to 10, I guess, balls they're going to look at, or 8 to 10 times during a game to see if a pitcher or, if the ball is sticky. And one thing that you bring up or has been brought up is we've always talked about how they want the game to go faster. But now you're going to have the umpires, and it's supposed to be between innings, so it's not supposed to be a delay of game. But then the umpires have to look and take this ball and put it in a special bucket, or I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do. And so they've talked to the owners and they've talked to the umpires and have, I guess the umpires had an orientation about what they're supposed to do with these balls. And to me, it just seems that it's going to be another Manfreded up issue.
It's a cluster Manfred.
It is.
So we noticed, or all of baseball noticed, that over the weekend, spin rates were down. And a lot of thought on this is, since this came down from MLB, less substances, and there's always been something. I heard Oral Hershiser the other day talking about there's always been substances on the ball. Everybody's used something at some point in time. You go back in time, the shine ball, the spitter, they would cut the ball. You know, they'd get in there and they'd scuff it, the scuffing of the ball. All of those things so pitchers can get a better grip on the ball. We know that pitches get away sometimes. Kevin Pillar, Bryce Harper got hit in the head. Kevin Pillar got it right in the face, broke his nose, and I think fractured areas over in that nasal cavity area. And then recently, wasn't there another player who got hit in the face?
Yeah, Nationals pitcher Austin Voth, he suffered a broken nose after being hit in the face by Vince Velasquez of the Phillies. And he went to bunt, but he couldn't get out of the way of the fastball. And he walked out off the field under his own power. His nose was reset. But Davey Martinez, the manager for the Nationals, related the incident to what's going on with the crackdown on pitchers' use of foreign substances, saying, quote, "You'll see more hit by pitches if we keep messing around with the stuff about the balls. I understand them trying to clean some stuff up, but it's hot, it's slippery, it's sweaty. I know Velasquez didn't throw in there intentionally, but I'm afraid that if we don't come up with something unified for everybody, you'll see a lot more of that, and that's a scary feeling." And I tend to agree with Davey Martinez.
We just talked about it recently about that hit by pitches are up.
Yes.
This season, and so it's not even about how hot it is, because it's not even as hot as it will probably get, or as humid as it'll get in some of the cities that they play in. And you brought up, you had a good solution to this. We were talking earlier when we decided to talk about this as to one thing that they maybe should do.
I think instead of the MLB trying to crack down on the illegal substances, is they need to come up with a solution and get a ball that is already tacky. So, you know, that already has something that helps the pitcher's grip. Because you mentioned hot, Davey Martinez mentioned that too, hot, humid. We know, because we lived in the area, July, August, it's humid in those southeastern,
right, that's south, yeah,
the East Coast. I lived there a long time. It is really bad during that time. Plus, it rains almost every afternoon. But in addition to that, when it's cold, the ball can slip out of your hand. So even in the early, April, you're thinking Detroit, something like that. So instead of the MLB, who I really don't think, I know that it's a rule, 6 point whatever. I get that. And a rule is a rule. But my biggest overall thing is the Asterix stole signs to win a World Series, and they got absolutely no punishment whatsoever. And now you're going to come after every single pitcher because what's been going on
there's probably
has been going.
And probably the pitchers that don't use something are an exception. Yes. The rule is everybody's probably using a little something. And whether it be just for grip, which we know is not the case, if you've got it and you can make the spin rate, spin better, makes your breaking ball break better, they're going to use it. So obviously that's going to happen. But instead of being worried about we're giving the pitchers an upper hand by taking a piece of the equipment and making it tacky, so that a lot of players have come up and said, if I'm in the box, and they've mentioned players, Jake DeGrom in his last outing threw 33 pitches at 100 or better. Do you want, before, even when Nolan Ryan was throwing in the hundreds, he didn't do it that many times in a game. These guys are throwing harder like that more and more, and all it's going to take is for one of those, 101 mile an hour fastball to hit somebody in the nose and hit it just right, and we have our first, death out of something like this, or brain damage, or something that is catastrophic and really changes things.
And we already talked about mentally for pitchers when they hit someone, especially if it, you break someone's nose, and then having to come back and pitch, or the same guy having to get, or any of them to get back into the batter's box. I think for the MLB, it would be to their benefit to do something preventative than to do, we're going to punish you and you don't get paid for 10 games, 8 to 10 games, I think is what I saw. Which for a lot of the guys is like, okay, I don't get paid for 8 to 10 games. But I would rather see, let's do something positive here. Everybody knows this has been going on, but let's do this. And the other thing, and you've mentioned it before, is it all the pitchers? What about the hitters? We wouldn't, if the hitters knew how to hit, would we know? And I'm not saying they don't, because we have good hitters out there. We wouldn't need the shift.
Right. Yeah. So there's, with the substance thing though, don't they always say when they change a rule, usually they'll say, it's like the stuff going down. One of the big reasons they want to do that bigger bag is safety of the players. Why wouldn't this fall under that? The pitchers are already doing something. If you make it a level playing field, and then the batters learn how to hit that ball, the tackier ball. We know this has been going on for a long time. Just go back to that game where the ball stuck to Yadier Molina's chest protector. He couldn't find it because it was stuck on his protector. Finally, somebody hollered out, hey, it's right there. But so there's always been stuff on the ball. Work with it so that you can do two things. You can control a little more and take it as a safety issue. Will they? Probably not.
Don't hold your breath.
No breath holding going on here. So we'll see how all of this plays out and who's the first pitcher to get fined or suspended because of it. A couple of guys that don't seem to be having problems with how the pitchers are pitching are both on the exact same team. And that would be Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker. Number 1 and 2 at the top of the batting average in MLB. Castellanos is at 359. Winker's at 350. And Winker's leading in others. This guy has become quite the hitter, and unfortunately, nobody else in Cincinnati's doing a lot of stuff, and they'd be ruling the league, I think, and definitely top of their division. But they're both doing well, and Jesse Winker, I think, is a guy to watch, and maybe might be somebody to watch as an all-star this season.
Well, even the Cincinnati Police Department came out with a tweet and said, at the current time, we can neither confirm nor deny that authorities in St. Louis have asked us to investigate where the Reds obtained the giant broom they used to sweep the Cardinals. We, however, can confirm that Jesse Winker is a suspect.
Before we look at one of our favorite segments of Around the League, the IL, we're gonna take a look at somebody who's kind of put himself on the IL, the stupid remark IL, the I ain't thinking IL.
Foot in mouth is the official cause of his IL stint.
That would be Diamondbacks announcer, former manager, and MLB player, Bob Brindley, their color guy.
He has a way
with words?
of inserting inserting his foot into his mouth. And he was talking about Marcus Stroman, who was pitching when the Mets were playing the Diamondbacks. And Marcus Stroman wears, and a lot of the guys do because of their hairstyle, it's hard to keep your ball cap on. And so he wears a cover.
You see, there's a lot of guys, they have those like skull cap kind of things. Or like, there's one guy I saw that it looks like a surgeon's hat. You know, when they go into surgery, they got that hat on and the mask and all that. So, yeah, I've seen some of those. Yeah.
So, Bob Brindley, I don't know why he thought this would be funny, but he said, that the do-rag that Stroman has on is the same one that Tom Seaver wore when he pitched for the Mets. Well, that didn't go over very well. It was a really dumb remark. I don't think he meant it in a hurtful way. However, it came off as very tone deaf, and he has put himself on the IL.
Right, so he can, the sensitivity training or whatever.
Yes.
You know, the thing is he came up in a time where probably a lot of other players called that. I've heard that in, many things. He probably thought, I'm saying he's wearing a similar item that a Hall of Famer, Tom Seaver, Tom Terrific, one of the greatest Mets pitchers of all time, and he didn't see that even that in this day and time, it doesn't fly. And you should know that. All of us should know that now, that whether you realize what you were saying or not, just don't say it. Avoid the trouble. Should it matter? No. That he said that and that term, but it's become more about how somebody takes it versus what he actually meant by it. Did he mean any harm? Like you said, no. Is he a dumbass for saying that on TV? Yes. Is he lucky that he still has his job and he's just taking some time off to go to rehab or whatever? Yes. He's lucky that those are the things and that he's not joining the ranks of the unemployed. So I think it's time for your favorite segment.
Who's on the IL? Let's spin that wheel.
You're on the IL and you're on the IL.
That's right. For the Giants, this is not good news. Evan Longoria is on the IL.
Yeah, no, that's not good news at all.
With a sprained left shoulder after a collision with Brandon Crawford. They don't really know how long he's going to be out, but he's expected to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He has 9 home runs, 30 RBIs, has just been really great for the Giants. So they not going to be happy with him on the IL because he's been an integral part of their team this season. And another interesting is these 3 guys all have something in common before, and now they have another thing in common. Now they all threw no-hitters, and now they're all on the IL. Corey Kluber, Spencer Turnbull, and John Means are all on the IL. Corey Kluber, after his no-hitter, he went and pitched. I think he pitched maybe 3 innings, and they took him out. Had a shoulder injury. He is expected to be out for 2 months. Spencer Turnbull has forearm inflammation, and he has had, MRIs. Doesn't look like it will lead to, Tommy John or something like that. So not sure on his timeline. Exactly. And then John Means also has a shoulder injury, and he's on the 10-day IL.
Now, do you think that's because they all threw complete games, no hitters, and maybe they put some more stress on their arm than they normally would? Because I'm sure as you get later on, if you're aware of what's going on, that you would that maybe you start working harder, you're more stressed, you tighten up a little more because you're trying to get that no-hitter?
It could be. It could be Corey Kluber especially, because it was the game immediately after his no-hitter against Texas. Spencer Turnbull, John Means could have, it could have contributed, and they might have been pitching.
John Means had a couple other starts since then, right? Because I remember the next game he had a pretty good game, so Turnbull as well had at least one or two other.
Right, since then. So it'll be interesting to see. I hope for Spencer Turnbull it's nothing, it's muscular and nothing else. But that'll be one to watch. And then, of course, Corey Kluber, I guess he, doing great. And his goal was no-hit Texas. And he did. And now he's out for 2 months binge watching
his programs.
The Sopranos. His programs, his TV shows. And before, I also have 2 oblique injuries.
Oblique. Oh, my oblique.
Actually, 3. Because I didn't have this one down because it was what was the word that they used for the Cardinals pitcher?
Significant.
A significant oblique injury for Cardinals pitcher Jack Flaherty that took him out of the game against the Dodgers. And it's significant. Not little, not a little oblique.
It's just a little bit. Significant.
Significant.
It's not just an oblique injury. It's a significant.
Significant. Now, Billy Hamilton of the White Sox, he also has an oblique injury that landed him on the IL. And joining Hamilton is Cleveland's Fremil Reyes. He suffered a left internal oblique strain. Now, normally, you would be...
Wait, there's internal obliques?
Yes.
And so
external.
Should all this time, should we have been looking to see if it's an outer oblique or it's an inner oblique?
I guess.
So we can determine how the...
Oblique.
It's like...
It is?
Yeah, how oblique-y it really is?
I think so, because this is an internal oblique strain. This is the interesting thing to me that stood out. Not just the oblique. Okay, Evan Longoria out 4 to 6 weeks. Corey Kluber, say 8 to 10 weeks. Reyes will be out 5 to 7 weeks. So I guess Cleveland, they go with the odd numbers instead of the even.
That must be it. The odd numbers, 5 to 7. Yeah, I never heard that. It's usually
2 to 4,
4 to 6, 2 to.
Yeah,
right.
It's not 5. He will be out 5 to 7
There's no odd weeks on the IL.
No.
10 day, 60 day. He'll be back in 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 months. Any of those, it's always an even number.
He'll be back in 33 1/3 days.
There you go. Or it could be 16 or 45.
Right. Yeah. So those are
playing my records.
Those are my favorite. I say favorite. Those are the guys that were on my IL wheel this week.
There is one odd number that pops up every once in a while, and the Twins. Now, the Yankees had one earlier in the season, like a textbook around the horn triple play. The Twins decided that's too easy. But what none of us knew at the time was first baseman Miguel Sano of the Twins is a triple play prognosticator. He has been involved in the last 4 Twins triple plays. And he's predicted that they're going to happen. Now, what makes this weird is it's a 3-6-4 triple play. And it's the first time one of these has happened since the Mariners did it back in 1980. They're playing the Royals. The batter really messed up, and that's what facilitated this, is he went to bunt and he popped it up. Well, when he was bunting, all the runners, there was a runner on first and second, both took off. Sano caught the ball in the air, threw to Simba. Andrelton Simmons was at second. Andrelton kind of ran the runner back from first. He didn't have to, but he did it. Throws to first, triple play. Because both of the, since they did it in the right order, it's just a force back at the bag. 3-6-4.
3-6-4.
So first baseman to shortstop to second baseman.
And this was the first ever 3-6-4 triple play was the first ever turned by the Twins and the first in Major League since 1980.
Yeah, that's what I said. The Mariners did that.
I know. I just have to say it again because it's 1980.
Right, so that's, what, 41 years ago?
Yeah. Crazy. That's why I have to say it again. 1980. This is what people want to see. They want to see. Everyone loves a double play. People go crazy over triple play.
That's right. A triple play like that. See, that was exciting.
Give the people what they want.
That's another thing, and it's not it's an unusual play. So that was kind of cool. Other than the fact that Miguel Sano knew it was going to happen.
And I understand that Rocco, his manager, plans on taking him to the casino and maybe using that knowledge to his advantage. We'll see how that works.
Now, we haven't done this in a while, but I think we need to check in on Jacob deGrom. And mostly because he was pitching against the Padres recently. And we'll talk about probably the number one Padre in just a second. But I watched part of this game. And at one point, Jacob deGrom, who we mentioned earlier, threw 33 pitches over 100 miles per hour. And he doesn't throw a lot of pitches, but think about it. If he threw 100 pitches in a game, that's a third, just slightly over a third of his pitches. And he shut him out. At one point, though, the Mets were being no-hit by Joe Musgrove in that game. So the Mets ended up winning the game, but here's the thing. Jacob deGrom has a .62 ERA and a 0.569 whip, which the walk hits per inning pitch. There is nobody pitching on the whole like Jacob deGrom. If the season's over today, which, hey, we're at 60 games, shouldn't it be over already? Isn't that what happened last year? We did 60 games, so shouldn't it be over?
It should be. We should be getting ready for the playoffs.
If Jacob deGrom, if the season's over today, Jacob deGrom is unanimously the Cy Young Award winner.
Oh, yeah.
And you could almost like put him in the mix for for MVP too. he has been so dominant. And he did it against a team who has been fairly dominant in themselves, and against a player who definitely has been, I don't know, I think that he needs to phone home now, and that's Fernando Tatis, and go back home to whatever alien planet he's from, because he's not playing like anybody else. And part of his alien-ish is his home run trot, which I know you love. It's one of your favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
Fernando Tatis Jr. does.
If I hear that he had a home run, I have to go back and look at the video the next day just to see it.
Because that little stutter step he does going around third.
I hate it.
He is an entertainer, though, and that's the problem is for people like us who are more traditionalist, it's you hit the home run, maybe you look at it for a second, and then you go run it off. Now, I don't care about bat flips. Do them. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't even care if... Remember Jeffrey Leonard, who played back in like the 80s, 90s? I think more in the 90s, but he played for the Giants for a long time and a couple other teams. But when he hit a home run, he'd do his flaps down. So he'd run down, he'd have one arm tucked in, and the other one he'd just run normally. Or he'd tap that. Sometimes he'd do both, but it was flaps down, the left flap down, the right flap down. It got under some people's skin, and if he did it versus the Dodgers, then you were really ticked off. But that was his thing. Now, obviously, there's more of these that are over the top, and Fernando Tatis has his thing. The other thing that's going on with the Padres is this big medallion that they've taken to wearing. And if that doesn't scream out for attention, hey, look at us. Look how good we are. Check us out. Look at this big sideways SD medallion we wear, because, and I get it. It's like a game ball. You're the player of the game. You get to do that. If you're in San Diego, you probably love it. For the rest of us, if I've got a ball, I want to throw it at it.
One of the things I was thinking about this with Fernando Tatis Jr. and just the behavior of other players on the Padres. And I'm biased, obviously, because I am a Dodgers fan. I've been a Dodgers fan forever. And there's the Dodgers, the organization is revered. I think there's something about being a Dodger, and they're classy. And I think it also is who the manager and it's just overall for the Dodgers, it's the team. And I look at Atlanta. I like Brian Snitker. He's been around a long time. And, Pablo Sandoval puts on a panda head in the dugout to give the guys that hit a home run. But it's in the dugout, and it's their thing.
Right, the panda hug.
Yeah.
It's a team
it's
thing.
It's a team thing.
That was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, because he runs over and gets it and puts it on. But there were things about Ronald Acuna Jr. that I'm just like, but as he's matured a little, he doesn't he's just playing ball. So when he stole second base and he stole third, and he was excited when he got third base because it's 2 bases he stole, that's fine. Yeah, you should be happy you did that. And I think it's the overall sense of the team. Like, have fun with the team. But for the Padres, it's, I'm not Tingler. He's, I guess, I don't know. He is okay. But I think he falls right into the same thing with those guys. And they're all it's all about, that big medallion And I got to do, instead of just, hey, I'm the home run leader and I just run the bases, I got to do a little dance and I got to stutter step. Just, you're a good ball player. You don't need to do that. And it's just, I know a lot of people, like, oh, Padres fans, they're all about, if a Dodger fan says anything about the Padres, like, oh, you just have sour grapes. But this is just about any team in general. They're really the only team that I see that is really over the top like that, in your face. And I'm like, you're a good team.
Than anybody else.
Yeah, you're a good team. You don't need to do all of that. Just play ball. But see,
do you feel like this might have been, remember in A League of Their Own, they're not drawing any attendance, and they're like, anything you can do.
Right.
And so like Dottie, the catcher, Gina Davis, does the splits to catch the ball.
Right.
Things like that. Do you think that somebody told some of these players, Fernando Tatis, maybe Ronald Acuna Jr., some of the younger players, hey, be over the top, be crazy? You think Manfred went and told them, we need you to be like this so that we can draw attention? Do you think this is one of those things where they're saying, do this, go over the top, so Fernando Tatis is doing that, he can play well enough so he can back it up? Because obviously the things with the Padres, Jurickson Profar will act like this sometimes. Jurickson Profar is lucky to still be in the league from different times in his career when somebody was going to DFA him or not. He's a solid enough player. He's found a place to play. But he shouldn't be running around acting like Fernando Tatis Jr. or Manny Machado even.
True. Yeah.
Even Eric Hosmer, who is nowhere near. He has a bit of an attitude, but he's not anywhere near like the other guys. He's not even doing what Profar is doing. Profar should just be playing, shut up and play the game kind of thing.
Or Jorge Mateo.
Right.
I mean, I think that's my thing. I am a traditionalist. I don't mind bat flips, and even stop and stare, sure, at your home run. But for me, with Fernando Tatis Jr., you're a good player. You don't have to do that. Just play ball. And in fact, I think if he did that, maybe he wouldn't have as many errors. He doesn't have to be flashy. He just has to just play. Because I wonder if that's in the back of your head. Like, I got to throw it just this way, or I got to do this. I got to do the splits all the time, because he does the splits a lot. So maybe he is channeling his inner Gina Davis.
Aren't we all at some point in time? If he doesn't watch out, he's going to be overtaken by the guy that we thought was going to be the top NL shortstop, and that's Francisco Lindor, who's had a tough season to start. Of course, he's with a new team. Maybe that's part of it. He's only hitting on the season .218 with 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, and 42 overall hits. But in the last week, and he had a good series against the Padres, he's batting .355, 11 hits, 3 doubles, 1 triple, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, 1 base on balls. His problem is 8 strikeouts. If you're a home run hitter, kind of works out. He needs to be walking, but he too, with the batting average with balls hit in play, .455. So we're seeing Lindor come back up. Tatis might be overshadowed if Lindor really gets back to what we all thought. And he's a guy that's much easier to watch overall because he can be flashy at times. He can have attitude. He and Javi Baez are probably similar in that, but Lindor carries himself a little more humbly, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would even say, and somebody, because he's on the Blue Jays and they're doing things, is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who hit, but he's not all I don't really see him as all flash either. I mean, he has his moments
He's
too
spirited.
because he's young, but there's just something that sticks out about the Padres, and not in a good way.
Right. Well, I can tell you that we're probably going to see a couple of Padres in the All-Star game. Voting has opened. And for me, there's one guy that I would really like to see get votes that probably will just get a few from his local area, and that's Jared Walsh from the Angels. He, I think, has earned a spot on there. I'm hoping he'll be named to the roster because I'm sure he's not going to get voted in because he plays in Anaheim, plays for a team that's substandard. Even if the Angels were the top team in baseball, people are tuning in to see Trout and Shohei. And Shohei should be an all-star this year as well. I don't know if he should be both. We'll have him hit. And I think for baseball's sake, they should have him hit and pitch in the All-Star game.
I think so too.
It's an exhibition of the best players, and he's clearly one of the best players.
Yes. I would like to say, I think Jared Walsh, that would be good. Another one for me is, you can vote 5 times a day, and I've been voting 5 times a day for Chris Taylor.
Yeah, he definitely has earned a spot. And in his case, though, he's lucky that his manager is the all-star manager. Thus, he could be named as, one of the to the roster as a non-starter. So, all-star voting's out there. Vote for your favorites. If you don't have a favorite, Jared Walsh should be popping up at first base. Vote for him. Chris Taylor. Those guys, the main stars are all going to make it. Get the other guys, like I said, like Jared Walsh, CT3, who are the lesser known, but are really their team's MVPs right now. All right, let's wrap things up today with, and we'll go to Cleveland. First, before we get to what we really want to talk about in Cleveland, just wanted to bring up that Shane Bieber, who we haven't talked about in quite a while, still out there, still doing well, leads the MLB with 117 strikeouts on the season, over 79 innings pitched, and a 3.08 ERA. So he didn't disappear. He's just doing it quietly, getting his job done, which makes us appreciate him even more. Now, the biggest news out of Cleveland is that this is their last season as the Indians. And unlike Washington, who dropped the Redskins and were just the Washington football team, and that's even one of the names that they might carry on and just forever be the Washington football team going forward, the Indians decided to stay the Indians for this season, but next year they're going to change. Now, the first thing that I heard when they decided to do this was, why don't they go back to the original Cleveland name, which was the Spiders? And it was a pretty cool logo, C on the hat and a spider. I like the history of that. That's kind of cool. But apparently that's not good enough. And like anything, you have to make it into some sort of a fun game and have them all submit names, and you pick the favorites to go with it.
Well, Spiders is a favorite in Cleveland. However, you also have the Avengers, which I'm not sure how that would work because you have the Marvel Avengers, Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I think
Avengers.
Disney has that really locked down.
Right. So I don't think that's going to happen. Then you have the Guardians, and the Guardians also there's a bridge that goes right to Progressive Field, and there are Guardians, like 2 Guardians on that bridge. There might be more, but there's Guardians, statues of Guardians. So they're like, okay, that's an ode to Cleveland. So those are the top 3. But then you also have the Gladiators, which I didn't really think of Cleveland and Gladiators. My favorite.
Just to live there, you've got to be some sort of a warrior, gladiator, or something like that, because
maybe.
Cleveland's a hard place to live, I hear.
Okay. So maybe. I don't know. But I've never been to Cleveland, so I don't know.
Me neither.
I would like to go so I could go
SRBB
to the
road trip.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Cleveland Rockers. Cleveland Rocks.
Yeah,
I mean, that should be a no-brainer.
Rockers. And then they could draft Kumar Rocker.
Oh.
And they could have their pitching coach could be John Rocker of the Rockers. No, they would never hire John Rocker.
No, that wouldn't happen. But
foot
Kumar,
in the mouth waiting to happen.
Kumar Rocker, that would work. I personally, if I'm voting, if they allowed me to vote, I vote Rockers, Cleveland Rockers.
Well, of the three that we know seem to be the top choices, Avengers we know have issues. Plus, now we can't count it out, because who's to say that they can't make a deal with Disney for naming right kind of things? And not that Disney needs to buy into this for any publicity, because everybody knows Avengers. If you say Avengers, there's probably not a person on the planet. There's very few people on the planet that wouldn't probably first say, oh, the comic book thing or the movie thing or whatever. And they just opened an Avengers campus at California Adventure.
Right. And
I'm sure Disney World's, if they don't have it, they're working on it.
Now, if they become the Avengers, Noah Syndergaard, Thor, has to become a Cleveland
maybe
Avenger.
That becomes a contractual imperative.
Yes.
Thor, who I was hoping might come to Anaheim, which would work too, because Disneyland and the whole thing. But yeah, you're right. That would work better. The Avengers. He could actually come out as Thor
with his hammer.
They could make it the whole. They could make it into the whole wrestling thing. You know how they have, the wrestlers have like a persona. So if there was Thor, they'd come out with the hammer and the cape or whatever. And those guys that do it. Jerry the King Lawler, who was always one of my favorites as a kid, had the crown and he had the robe, and you had all those guys doing that. The Honky Tonk Man came out with his guitar or whatever. He could do that, and they could have, and each player could take on one of the personas of the Avengers.
I would like to know who would be the Hulk, Iron Man.
The Hulk would be Wade Miley.
Oh, right, because he already had the tattoo.
And then he could just get the tattoo permanently and not do the temporary stick-on.
Captain America.
Well, that would lead to something. I like the Rockers. If I had to go with just the top three right now, Spiders, because I like that history, and I would get a Cleveland.
Yeah, the logo is.
Because the spiders
the logo
on there.
is really cool.
I think a lot of people are worried about arachnophobia.
They would be afraid to go to the game because they're afraid of the spiders. It could work to their favor.
Right. Nobody would show up for autographs because they didn't want to get that close to a spider. Shane Bieber's like, nobody's out here for me to sign balls or anything. No, because we're afraid of you.
You're a spider. For me, they would just have to be a rodent, and I would not go near it.
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at siblingrivalrybb.
We're also on Twitter at siblingrivalrybb without the A. Email us, show at siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Super Regionals.
That's not part of the Avengers.
A spider.